Hey, it's Susan Wright again, Rick Perry supporter. I made a video for you earlier. I had to keep it short. This video is just me reading something that I wrote about Governor Perry, about my support of him, that I think really explains. So I'm just going to expand a little bit, and I'm not watching the time right now. Okay. And forgive me, I'm reading because it's long and I can't remember everything I wrote. As another campaign season unfolds, none should be surprised at the level of competitive spirit it brings out in us. Everyone is sure that their guy is the right candidate to bring us out of the stagnant and hopeless years of Obama. I don't want to talk about the failures of the Obama years or the emptiness of the hope and change bill of goods the American people were sold. We have an opportunity to get it right this time. We have a chance to start over with a better, more experienced representative in Washington. There are several things this nation desperately needs from its next president if we are to reclaim any semblance of our past glory and position on the global stage. 1. A strong economy. When a nation stays ahead of its debt rather than under it, that nation thrives. Lower taxes, a free market that attracts jobs, and a revived workforce create economic growth that reduces the debt and secures our standing in the world. Number 2, a strong military. We live in perilous times. We cannot afford to cut and weaken our military in the face of growing threats in the Middle East, instability in Europe. That being said, honoring our vets, making sure that those who put their lives on the line for our nation are taken care of, should be a priority with the one who seeks to serve as their commander in chief. Number 3, a secure border. One of the jobs of the federal government is to keep our borders secure. This is an issue of federal defense, and for too long, our leaders have been content to give lip service to the problem while amassing huge debt by taking on the responsibility of caring for foreign nationals here illegally. Our next president must have a working knowledge of the border problem and a clear plan for protecting it. Any talk of immigration reform that doesn't begin and end with enforcing the laws already on the books is not a talk worth having. Number 4, strong adherence to our Constitution. Our founding fathers were not perfect, but they put aside any differences and were able to craft a document that has helped guide the nation to one of the most free and prosperous nations in history. Were it not so, we wouldn't see so many people clamoring to come here every year. Our next president must believe in the power of the Constitution, in particular the First Amendment, which protects our free speech and freedom of religion, the Second Amendment, which protects the rights of the citizens to keep and bear arms, to protect their families and stand ready in the face of dangers, whether foreign or domestic, and the 10th Amendment, which protects the individuality of the states, allowing for each unique set of people to decide what works best for them in regards to those issues not specifically spelled out elsewhere in the Constitution. Truly, state government is best equipped to say what will most benefit their people. 5, education. Our future rests in the hands of our children. Big government intervention in our education system, including a teachers union that is more concerned with lining their pockets than educating the children, is driving the potential of our youth straight over a cliff. The next president must be willing to look at where the government's intervention is failing and make common sense reforms to the current process. Number 6, moral clarity. At a time in our history where moral relativism is the rule of the day, we've never been more in need of a president with a strong moral compass. Our nation is adrift, short on absolute intervention from an almighty God. Our next greatest hope is a leader who will humble himself before that same God and seek guidance. Psalm 33:12 declares, "Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord." Indeed, our founding fathers put value in adherence to faith as part of our national DNA. John Adams opined, "Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other." Charles Carroll, signer of the Declaration of Independence, said, "Without morals, a republic cannot subsist any length of time." And Benjamin Franklin offered, "The longer I live, the more convincing proofs I see of this truth, that God governs the affairs of men. And if a sparrow cannot fall to the ground without his notice, is it probable that an empire can rise without his aid? Our next president must have an eye on the future, but a heart that remains sensitive to the God of our forefathers. I love my country deeply. I have mourned the path we're on, as I see us heading in the absolute wrong direction. For this reason, I take each campaign season very seriously. I consider every aspect of candidates and vet them carefully. I don't let others tell me who to support, nor do I let polls sway my quest to find the man or woman who best expresses a willingness to address our nation's most dire needs. It is for that reason that I support Governor Rick Perry for president. Texas has thrived in the 14 years of Perry's governorship. He's held a steady hand over the affairs of Texas and guided them to the status of economic Goliath. It is the 12th largest economy in the world, and while the rest of the nation was hemorrhaging jobs, Texas created 1.5 million jobs. As a veteran of the U.S. Air Force, Governor Perry understands the needs of the military. He knows the importance of a strong national defense, and he recognizes the challenges facing our vets. A President Perry will make national defense and our military men and women, active and retired, a priority. Long before our southern border became the storyline for a pro wrestling script, Perry was on the border, alerting the federal government to the problems, and in fact spent nearly $1 billion in Texas funds to put more personnel on the ground, supply fast responders, and put aviation assets in the sky. Securing the border has always been the constitutional duty of our federal government. But Governor Perry has gone above and beyond to do what can be done apart from a federal government that has turned a deaf ear to his calls for intervention. Governor Perry has always been a strict constitutionalist, being particularly strong with the Second Amendment. He's a lifetime member of the NRA. And the 10th Amendment. He's a strong supporter of states' rights. Less government intervention in our lives is a good thing. Texas has no common core. Minorities in Texas are number one in high school graduation, while Texas maintains the number 2 spot in high school graduation overall, creating an educated workforce rather than a generation of welfare recipients. They haven't completely eradicated welfare, but they've drastically cut the need. Finally, Governor Perry is a man of character, honor, humility, and deep faith-based convictions. His love of God, country, and family harkens back to a more noble and virtuous time. No, we've never been perfect, but there was a time when faith and country mattered. There was a time when men of valor stood up and declared in bold terms their love of our nation and their faith in God to steer us to brighter shores. They didn't apologize for our nation's many blessings, but instead honored the sacrifice of those who remained tireless in their pursuit of excellence and thankful for God's mercy and providence. When Governor Perry speaks of his vision for our nation, I can forget what has been our reality for the last few years and once again believe that our best days are ahead of us. We do not have to settle for less than the very best God has for us. With all my heart, I believe that with prayers for God's mercy and Governor Perry in our White House, we may once again experience a nation united under God with liberty and justice for all. And that is the expanded version of why I support Governor Rick Perry for president. If you've taken the time to listen this far, I hope you will seriously consider what I've said. He's the real deal. He's not out there trying to showboat. He's not out there trying to raise his own awareness. He's not out there trying to get glory for himself. He has a love of this country and he wants to do the right thing. He wants to serve this nation rather than be served by this nation. Thank you.